Hello. We're live. Yes? Yes. Okay, good. Hi, I'm Amanda Call. I'm going to continue working on this comic page. This is a page from my webcomic, Age of Night. We've worked on this for a few streams at this point. Got through all the penciling and the lettering and started some of the background inks, and we're going to proceed on doing background inks today, which I will mostly be using a nib pen for these. This is just a little Hunt 107 and a nice custom Tachikawa wooden nib holder that's a little bit bigger and easier to hold than the standard little plastic ones that the 107s usually come to fit. All right, so I still have some of this stuff that I need to use a French curve for, so I'm going to start working on that because I would like it to get done. So I'm going to find a curve to match. Match that. And because of how complicated all of this is, I can't work on any other curve on that one until that dries. So we're going to move on and come back to it. Just wipe that off and leave it off to the side. Let's see. I didn't finish the inking on this panel last time. I still have some leaves left on this little prickly plant here. There we go. Yeah, definitely. I think this this set, the set that I got this one in, I actually got both of these. And there's another one that's even a little bit smaller and has some tighter, rounder curves, but I'm not sure where that one is. It seems to have disappeared. But they did come in a set altogether when I first bought them like a million years ago. Got eraser crumbs on here from when I finally erased the guidelines from my lettering. All right, let's see. I don't actually want to do, so normally shrubs I would do with brush, and I'm going to do some of them with brush, but because I really want the focus of the brush stuff to be on just Kamaria and what she's doing, I'm going to actually do those in nib to just kind of make them a little bit less pronounced. Pen, if you could cooperate, that would be like really fantastic. There we go. So you got like a vague impression of some shrubs back there without them being super pronounced and drawing a lot of attention to themselves. Oh, jeez. Just like stabbed my desk trying to flick some of the excess ink off of this. That was not what I intended to do. There we go. So now we got some little background shrubs there. Well, it depends on what you're doing. I usually do I usually emphasize like the shadows and kind of carve out the leftover spaces like that. It is really easy to accidentally overdo it and make shrubs look way darker than you intend to. So you have to be very careful when you're approaching it by adding in the shadows. I have definitely accidentally made nighttime shrubs. Shrubs with a nighttime level of shading on them in a daytime scene. That's a thing that happens. All right, let's get another pass at the curves over here. It's a very tight curve right there. Let's see if I can get both of these. Both the lower edge and the upper edge on this curve. Yeah, there we go. They are happy shrub accidents. Oh, that's such a tight little curve. Let's try this one. Oh, I think that might get me somewhere. There we go. I'll get the other side of it on the next pass. Hopefully, maybe. Oh, I could work on that one too. Since it's far enough away from that one that I won't drag my tool through it. That would be good. I'll get this little white inlay on the handle of his sword here. There we go. Okay. So, gotta wait for that to do another pass for what I just did to dry so that I don't drag my French curve through it and make a mess. So I'm going to jump down here and work some more on this one. That's a shrub. That's a shrub. Slowly build up some of this tone with this little leafy texture here. and then a slightly different texture for the rocks next to it so that they don't accidentally end up looking the same. There we go. And more leaf texture down in this other shrub down here. All right. And that's the background for this panel, which is fairly simple, is already done. So now let's see what's going on up here. All right. I think I should be able to get that one, the hilt, done on this one finally. Ta-da! Okay, I do need to get this other side, but I just did right there, so there's not like a good way for me to get that little bit without dragging through there, so I'm going to come back to it in a minute. I will work on this, though. Not drag my tool through it. There. We'll get the other side when we come back and do that. So close. So close. Doing those swords is always like whenever they're up close and I have to actually focus on getting the curves correct and not just freehand it. Like down here with this one that's itty bitty or these ones that are pretty itty bitty, I can just freehand them. That's fine. But when they're large like that, it's like I need to make sure they have that nice even curve to them, and that involves so much of this. It takes so many passes to get it all done. And now, down here, we have a whole bunch of stuff to do. Hey, Barney. I know you always have a show, like, right before this. I appreciate you making the time to come, considering that you do your show, like, immediately before this. Ink, you gonna come out of there? We're gonna clean and try that again. Okay. Go over here. Maybe it'll like it over here better. There we go. some grass, and some rocks. And then we need to add some texture to some rocks. Rocks. Shading on the rocks and some little grasses. Yeah, took it easy for a few pages there with nothing but darkness. Not so much now. That shrub I'll probably do with brush, so I'm going to leave that for now. But for now, I'm going to leave it. More little rocks. Down the shoreline. And since I'm right here, I will add Kamaria's little brooch there. And some ground texture. Rocky, scrabbly dirt. I'm your favorite main-based Tuesday night live stream cartoonist. I appreciate that. That's a very specific title, but I'll take it. And more grasses. Boop, boop, boop. We'll get these other little rocks on the shore here, and then we will come back to this situation. Okay. Okay, there's those rocks. We got one shore done. We're so close to being done with these swords up here. We just need the other side of this curve. Here we go. Little curve up there. The cap on the end of the handle there, the pommel-ish thing. It's not like a proper pommel. It's just the end of the handle, I guess. I don't know. I try not to be too obnoxious about sword terminology, since I don't know how to actually use one. And nerds who won't shut up about sword terminology when they don't even actually know how to use one, like, really irritate me. Okay, they are finally done. Yes, exactly. You poke them with the pointy end. Depending on the sword, maybe you do some slashing. That's, it's about the extent of my knowledge, and I'm not going to pretend like I know more than that. Like, if you really, really actually do know more than that, cool, good on you. It just drives me nuts when people don't actually know more than that, but they like to pretend that they do. Well, a sword should actually be balanced. No, you don't know. You haven't actually used one. You don't know. Shush. Okay, well, now that that is done, I can actually come back and do the rest of the inking of the background on this one, which is great. That's pretty much all I know. Me too, Hungry. Me too. That's all I really know. I'm not gonna pretend like I know more than that. All right, that's all spots I'm going to fill in black later, so I give myself those little X's so that I can come back and make sure I do that. The sheath. And then this sword has like this texture to it. Yes, his swords do not match. There's a reason for that. If you're keeping up with the comic, you know why. There we go. And now we will come over here and do Drake's little face because he's a black cat. So I kind of have to define some of these lines. Less whiskers that go past his body. So he looks kind of silly at this point. But once he's all filled in with black, it makes a lot more sense. Little fluffy chest. His little toes. There we go. So again, he looks kind of silly right now, but he will make more sense later. I appreciate the faith. Appreciate your faith in me, Barney. All right, more rock texture. All the rock. All the little dots. All right, there we go. There's one thing. Rock texture that sounds pretty hard, and it looks pretty hard. Ha 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 ha. What would I do without your dad jokes? I'm glad it looks hard. That's the goal. The goal is, in fact, for it to look hard. If it looked soft, I would have messed something up. Got Drake's shadow underneath him here. Yeah, that looks pretty good. A pillow texture. Maybe like a feather texture. Feathering is a completely different inking technique. Alright, we've got some little scrubby trees back here. All right, and there's little trees back there. We're gonna have another rock back over here. It's further back, so we're gonna give that a little bit lighter treatment to help push it back a little bit more. I don't want it to look like it's right next to this rock, but like a little further back behind this rock. So I could give it a lighter line and lighter texture. More rocks. So yeah, what's been going on, people? How are you doing? Building these ink textures takes a little while. It's not the most thrilling part of the process, but it's nice and soothing, very meditative. But no, seriously, how you doing? How's everyone doing? Feel free to comment or question. You don't have to, but I don't have Alan here harassing me this time, so I don't have as much to respond to in the chat at the moment. I'm gonna add some shrub texture back here. This page is being bouncy. Stop bouncing. Okay, so I still have this little tree texture. I think I'm going to do that one in brush because it's a little bit further forward. So we'll do that later. So now all the nib work on this panel is done. I still didn't actually finish this one. I think I've decided what I want to do with these mountains back here, and I realized that I have a couple little details on some of my characters I still need to pick out too. Where are we on time? 35 minutes. Okay. See, like here, I can just freehand these. They're small enough. It's not too difficult to get those little short strokes freehand. And also, if they're not perfect, they're small enough you're not really going to notice. Clean. important to periodically give your nib a quick dip in water and get the gummy ink out of there. Nope, I see fuzz. I don't want fuzz. So there's one mountain, has a little bit of depth to it now. I think I'm going to... No, why can't I? There we go. I'm going to give myself a little bit of a stand there. Guideline on this. Actually, looking at that, I don't like how that runs right into his head there. So we're gonna scoot that down a little bit. Yeah, we'll do it like that. So I give myself those kind of parallel guidelines so that my hatching lines don't go from like this angle to slowly becoming this angle, which I don't want. Which, if you don't have those guidelines, it's very easy to slowly drift out of alignment from the way that you intended to have them into some other not quite right direction. And then it looks kind of silly because they're not nice parallel hatch lines. You have this weird, like, wobbly effect, and it'll actually make whatever you're putting the hatching on look kind of wobbly, which, I mean, if that's the effect you're going for, cool. But if it's not, we don't want that. And now I've talked so much that the ink is drying in my pen. It's just go, Amanda, go. I just knocked the camera with my head. Also, part of how I'm keeping those lines nice and straight is that I'm locking my wrist and I'm pivoting from my elbow. Yay! Drake looking down into the down the side of a cliff. Look, that's a great plan. Ta-da! Sounds like a ballet move. I mean, sort of. Okay, so now all of the top 2 tiers, the background inking is done. We're going to try to get as much of the background inking done down here as possible before the hour is up. 42 minutes. I usually have these streams go on for approximately an hour, because then after that, you should get up and stretch and like go get a drink of water. And I should do the same. It's important to hydrate and move. Although I have had a stiff neck all day because our children crawled into bed at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I got wedged between a small child and my husband, and my neck is very stiff. Oh, okay, yeah. So while I was doing these parallel lines, in order to keep them nice and straight, so you can see I've freehanded all of those, but they look pretty darn straight. Like they're not perfectly straight, like if you hold a straight edge up to them, but they're a lot straighter than if I was trying to like normally do a straight line with the way that I've been doing everything else down here, where I'm kind of moving from my wrist. So instead, to make that kind of straight line, I lock my wrist so it's not moving at all. I'm holding the pen at the exact same angle the whole time. And instead, let me see if I can get my arm in all the way in frame for you. Instead, what I'm doing is pivoting from my elbow. While you can see my wrist doesn't move, the way I'm holding the pen doesn't change. The pivot point is in my elbow, because my wrist makes a very small, tight arc. So if I try to do a straight line just from here, it's going to have a curve to it. Let me show you on a piece of scrap paper. 1 second. All right. Scrap paper. So your wrist actually has a pretty short curve to it. So if I'm trying to do a straight line and I'm moving from the wrist, I can only get, come on, I can only get so far because your wrist has this kind of curve to it. Now, your elbow obviously is not like a perfect straight line, but it's a bigger curve. And so if I'm holding my wrist still, not letting the position of my pen change at all, and moving, and of course now I'm out of ink, and moving just my elbow, again, I'm trying to stay in frame, just my elbow, come on, then I can get a longer straight line because that's a longer curve. So it's kind of like the difference between this kind of curve and this kind of curve. So that's why you do that. And that's how you freehand nice, very straight-ish looking lines like that. Hungry, are you talking about the days of small children crawling into your bed and giving you a stiff neck all day, or different days? I actually really do appreciate that the kids, even though they're getting older, still want to cuddle and be sweet and everything, which is why I don't kick them out of bed when they do that, even though I know I'm going to regret it in the morning. Another rock. Oh my gosh. It's Alan. Alan is here in the last 10 minutes to provide the harassment. We missed you, Alan. I was talking about missing you earlier. You can drive over to your parents' house, walk into their bedroom, and snuggle. I mean, they would probably find it weird, but they might actually appreciate it. I don't know. It's going well. Been making a lot of progress on this stream. We are almost done with all of the nib inking, which is good because this really needs to get done by the end of the next stream so that it can be uploaded in time. So, I'm glad with the progress we're making. It's good. It needed to happen. And since we're in the last 10 minutes of the stream, I'm gonna do the YouTube things and tell you should like and subscribe. Yeah, like the video and subscribe to my channel if you have not already, which I think most of the people in chat have, but whoever else might be watching, you should do it too. And I'll remind you that this is a page from my webcomic, Age of Night, which you can read online for free at ageofnight.com. That's AGEOFNIGHT.com. New comic page every Wednesday. And while you can read the whole thing for free, you could also be really cool and support me on Patreon, which I greatly appreciate, and you get all of your comic updates a week early. Which is why this needs to be done next Tuesday, because it needs to be on Patreon next Wednesday. will not be available for everyone to see until the following Wednesday, but my patrons get it next Wednesday. They're also going to get to start seeing another cool project that I'm like starting to work on in earnest right now. Keep an eye out, patrons. So yeah, that's patreon.com/Age of Night if you're interested in doing that. You can also follow me on other social media platforms. I'm on Twitter at Age of Night and on Instagram at Amanda Call Art. Those are all the things. I'm a good tweeter. I'm glad you appreciate my my tweetings. More rocks. Woo-hoo-hoo. Little rocky mountain stream that they're crossing here. I think that was all of the things. The calls to action and whatnot. Need a little shadow from Wen there on this rock, in addition to the shadow of the rock's form. There, that is actually the technical term for it, as a form shadow. Form shadows, these things that describe the shape that an object is. Cast shadows, object shadows that one object is casting on another object. So that's this little bit right here, is the shadow that Wen is casting on the rock. There you go. You learned a first year art school term for today. So we're not going to quite get the backgrounds done on this stream, but we're awful close. And that means next time we should be able to finish the page up, because I just have a little bit of background inking left to do. And then not too terrible much brush inking, because we've just got like a little bit up here. Not a lot. Not a lot in each panel, so it won't be far from being done, even if I don't quite get all the way there next time. So yeah, I think that's a good stopping point. So that's pretty much going to do it for tonight. So we started with just a little bit of background inking done, and over this hour we've gotten the background inks done on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panels now. Completely backgrounds are inked, and the last one is like halfway there. So next time we will finish up the background inks on this panel and get through as much of the brush inking on the figures as I can in the hour. So thanks everybody for coming and hanging out with me and leaving comments and everything. I appreciate the conversation and the company. I will see you all next time. Bye.